President Trump tweeted on Sunday he won in reference to Joe Biden, but then the tweet went on to allege sort of these various inaccurate claims about election fraud and why the president believes Joe Biden should not have won. But the fact that he said he won in this tweet was sort of taken by a lot of people as maybe Trump's way of sort of acknowledging that he lost or that he was conceding. So it was sort of, this big moment after a week and a half, essentially, of the president refusing to even acknowledge that Joe Biden had been projected the winner of the election. Of course, within, I think, a couple hours, the president took it back and wrote, "I concede nothing" on Twitter. So it's sort of clear that this is just going to kind of keep going on, where the president refuses to really kind of engage with the fact that Joe Biden is going to be taking office in January. But, so it's sort of more of the same from the president, but there was that little moment where people thought, oh, maybe this is the point where he sort of shifts and maybe acknowledges the result. I think it's unlikely we'll ever hear President Trump himself outright say either, I lost the election, or Joe Biden won the election, or, really just kind of acknowledging that the result was fair. It seems like no matter what happens, he's not going to be satisfied with, why Joe Biden is being declared the winner, or the fact that everyone kind of agrees on the result. The president's going to keep sort of spouting these false claims about election fraud and about mail ballots and about poll watchers and all that stuff that wouldn't change the results, even based on sort of the lawsuits that the Trump campaign has filed. So I don't think we're ever going to hear sort of an outright concession from President Trump. But one thing to watch, I think, is whether other people in the administration start to sort of acknowledge the result, especially as states certify these results. I think there will be increasing pressure on other people in the administration to, acknowledge that the Biden administration will be incoming in January and sort of talk about how they're going to prepare for that. So I wouldn't expect the president himself to change his tone, but I think it's worth watching whether people around him sort of start to do that as these results become official. Different people are sort of expressing different levels of concern about not getting the transition started. There are people who have been pretty openly either critical of the president or willing to break with him, like Anthony Fauci.
The virus is not going to stop and call a timeout while things change. The virus is just going to keep going. The process is just going to keep going. So hopefully we'll see that soon. And transitions are important.
Or some of these Republican senators like Mitt Romney or Susan Collins, who have talked about the concerns about either Joe Biden not getting intelligence briefings or there not being any communication about the coronavirus response. And some of these people, like Dr. Fauci, have essentially raised concerns that by not doing this transition, the Biden administration will be less prepared to distribute a vaccine, for example. So there are sort of real concerns that people have raised about the lack of a transition. So I think there's going to be sort of increasing pressure for this normal transition to sort of get underway. And in the meantime, the Biden campaign and transition team has essentially said, they're going to go about their work as normal. They're going to get prepared to run the government. And Joe Biden himself has kind of downplayed President Trump's refusal to cooperate and said, that they're going to be ready to go in January. But the closer it gets and the longer this drags out without any cooperation, there are definitely going to be some obstacles, especially around the coronavirus and vaccine distribution that the Biden team is going to have to deal with.
Ideally, we won't go to a lockdown. I will not go. This administration will not be going to a lockdown. Hopefully, whatever happens in the future, who knows which administration it will be. I guess time will tell. But I can tell you, this administration will not go to a lockdown.
I am hopeful that the president will be mildly more enlightened before we get to January 20th.